Captain Midnight.
There will be spoilers. So whatever title I end up giving this video, it will probably be fairly harsh towards Karate Kid Legends. So let me just say up front, this movie is not a disaster, it's not a train wreck or an embarrassment or anything as wildly off the rails as that. It's an okay little movie that I probably would have found a lot to enjoy in if I was in middle school. And that's basically fine. My point in this video is not to act like this movie is some affront to the good name of Karate Kid or anything. Instead, the reason I wanted to make this one, despite not really knowing if that many people care about this movie, is that I found its relationship with nostalgia so interesting. It's both clearly the reason the film exists and the thing that's holding it back the most, which I think makes it a good case study to look at exactly where Hollywood is in 2025. Before I get into it, thanks for watching, and a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed over the years, and if that's not you yet, now could be the time.
They chop, twist, and kick. Karate Kid Tri-Action figures are each...
But alright, Karate Kid Legends. In a way, I kind of feel bad for this movie, because it has to thread a really strange franchise movie needle here. I understand there are exceptions, but for the most part, Karate Kid films have a very simple formula. A satisfying one. Alienated kid, a wise mentor, a bully to overcome. You really don't get more by the books than that. And I don't begrudge a movie like this for being formulaic if it hits those notes well. I mean, I'm a weirdo obsessive about old television, so I'm no stranger to enjoying an old formula repurposed in an enjoyable way. And for the first half of Legends, I think that's mostly what this feels like. I like this young cast. Lee and Mia, played by Ben Wong and Sadie Stanley, are charming and likable. The early portion of the film, where Lee adjusts to moving from Beijing to New York and their relationship grows, is easily when the film is at its most confident. Then the change-up happens. We had seen Jackie Chan's Han near the start of the film, and even young Daniel LaRusso in the first scene. But for most of its runtime, the movie is concerned with Lee, his mother, his new friend Mia and her dad, who owes a lot of money to a loan shark, and working out all these problems. It's not breaking any new ground, but it feels coherent. Is it a little goofy that an old boxer would hire a teen kung fu expert to train him for his comeback? I mean, of course, but it's the kind of silliness I can easily forgive in a movie like this, especially when it's hitting the character beats in this story pretty effectively. But once Jackie Chan shows up to train Lee, Legend's tone and story priorities change incredibly quickly. I will dig into that, but first maybe we should consider what this movie was trying to pull off here. It's attempting to be a sequel to the first 3 Karate Kid movies, a sequel to the 2010 reboot, and has to contend with the fact that it is now following up Cobra Kai, a show that, at least in the early going, was very well liked for having a much different and more mature tone than all of these movies. And when you get down to it, I just think that's far, far too much for a movie built on the old Karate Kid formula to juggle effectively. And this results in a movie that's trying to please everyone and ends up shortchanging just about each audience segment that they're trying to make happy. If you're like 11 to 15 and this is your first Karate Kid, you'll probably be pretty baffled that the movie stops dead in its tracks for a significant portion of its running time to focus on 2 old guys who don't really connect to the rest of the story that much. If you're a casual Karate Kid fan who remembers liking the first couple of movies decades ago, you'll probably be annoyed at how little Daniel matters in this movie, despite being all over the marketing. If you're a diehard fan of the 2010 reboot, I mean, maybe you'll like this. I have a hard time imagining that person, but I'm sure they're out there. But if you love Cobra Kai, I don't think you'll come away very happy with this one. The Daniel of that show had texture. He was a solid guy with some real flaws. We saw his life, his middle-aged malaise. There was a real character there, a grounded attempt at reckoning with what that character from those films would look like decades later. The Daniel in this movie honestly has very little in common with the one from the show at all. We hear almost nothing about his family life, or really just his life in general. He just seems like an affable guy that stands around in his old friend's dojo looking ready to shoot a men's clothing commercial for Target at a moment's notice. Now there's some attempt to inject some personality into his dialogue in the training montage, but barely. He never develops a real relationship with Lee. You could write him out of the movie entirely and give more screen time to, I don't know, Lee's mother, who's struggling to start again in a new country after the loss of her child, and you'd probably have a better movie. Despite being central to the marketing, Jackie Chan and especially Ralph Macchio are the main thing dragging this film down. Not because their performances are bad necessarily, though to be honest I don't think this is either of their finest moments as actors, but because they feel like sacrifices at the altar of nostalgia in a movie they didn't need to be in at all. The film's low point, where they feel the most shoehorned in, is when the movie dispenses with its young cast altogether and just follows Jackie's trip to California. If I'm not mistaken, I think every scene in California, both times we were there, are set entirely in Mr. Miyagi's house. On its own, I guess this is fine, but it clashes so much with the rest of the film, that features a lot of exteriors and on-the-street shooting, that it makes these scenes clash in a weird way. Where they not only don't involve Lee, our lead, they also don't even really share the same visual language as the rest of the movie. Sure, a lot of the East Coast locations, like Mia's Pizza Place, are clearly sets as well, but the rest of the movie makes a real effort to make the streets of Montreal feel as New York as possible. Meanwhile, the California stuff just feels like a really low-budget TV show. I harp on the nostalgia baiting here, not because I dislike these characters, but because I think that pandering does a massive disservice to the story their own movie is trying to tell. Karate Kid Legends moves at a very fast pace, too fast to be honest, especially in its back half. You watch that first movie and the way it's edited, and scenes are given some room to breathe. It's a movie from the director of the first Rocky film, and it shows. While not on the level of that movie, they both have this very working class, shaggy dog quality to them. The characters feel messy, grounded, and recognizable. Now, to its credit, I think Legends does aim for this too. And despite me really missing the shot on 35mm film aspect of the first movie, I think it does succeed at points, or at least an attempt was made that could have worked better had these character dynamics been given a little bit more room to play out. Legends is 94 minutes long, and I think that's fine with the story they're telling here. This is a movie about a kid winning a karate tournament. We do not need a 3-hour epic. But when so much of that time, especially in the back half, is devoted to the old guys, we really feel the kid cast fall off a cliff for much of the movie. Mia stops talking to Lee for a while, disappearing from the film, leaving us with just Lee and this painfully bad, nerdy best friend tutor character for him to bounce off of, and whatever charm there was in those early scenes just totally disappears. And that's not even accounting for the fact that this villain really has less to do than ever. Now, you'd think a Karate Kid film coming after Cobra Kai would really think about who they have their titular kid facing off against. But the opposite is definitely true. Amidst the nostalgia, this Connor guy, a bland Johnny rehash, really gets no time in the spotlight. We know he's cruel, violent, and that Mia kind of has a thing for him, but that's basically it. He's much less nuanced than Johnny in the first movie, honestly. He's a stereotypical bully with zero updates on that concept or any farther exploration of it, making the kid's cast feel even shallower. Despite all of this, again, I don't hate this movie. Formulas like this are held onto for a reason. The sense of being lost in a new city, getting beat up, training, the montages, the big fight at the end, this time on a rooftop. These are all beats that still work. But the devil, I think, is really in the details with stories like this. It's your characters that raise these formulas out of feeling completely rote and tired. Like I said, I like this young cast, and I do think they could have done that. But ultimately, the movie seemed to decide that it was more important to connect itself to older parts of the franchise. Clearly not confident that the film would have an audience at all without making those connections a huge part of it. But in the end, the way Daniel and Han are worked in here just is not handled well. Daniel especially feels like he has a glorified cameo in a story set on the other side of the country that did not need to involve him. No matter how many times the movie repeats 2 branches, 1 tree. Doing a straightforward redo of Karate Kid is tough, and it's already been done before. But I'm not sure this franchise mashup does anything to service the story they were trying to tell. It seemed like they were mostly trying to service the marketing team. I don't know if there's a great movie buried under the nostalgia bait of Karate Kid Legends, but I do think there's a much better one than this. So that's what I have for Karate Kid, but if you're in the mood for something completely different, why not check out my comic Binary C? The first issue is out on Kindle and has a 4.5 rating over on Amazon. Goodreads has also been very kind too, like one user who left a review and said, "This story kept me on the edge of my seat and I wanted to read more even after ending this volume." That tells you that the story has a lot of potential. I am excited to have come across this and I will happily get in line to get his next copy. Thank you for that, and yes, we are hard at work on issue 2. It has taken a lot longer than I expected, but I'm really happy with the progress we're making now, and I should have some pretty big updates for you soon. And if you haven't checked out issue 1 yet, I should mention it is 30 pages, so longer than your standard American comic, and only $3.99 or free with a Kindle Unlimited subscription. You can find it down in the description below.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and prizes too.